Hi there. It's December the 30th, and we're continuing our journey through John's revelation, the revelation of Jesus Christ. And we're in chapter 21, and we're reading the whole of the chapter from verses 1 through to verse 27. So, in this chapter, we have the unfolding, the revealing of the new heaven and the new earth. The thing that God has been working towards throughout this whole story is now coming to pass, where God restores what has been lost. He's dealt with evil. He's put a lid on evil. He's finished it off, and now everything is going to be made new. And so this new heavens and the new earth are coming. The old earth has passed away. Everything's become brand new. Everything's in a sense been recycled. And he sees the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven. And he hears a voice from heaven saying something very significant. And we need to home in on this. The voice says, look, God's tabernacle is now with men. The tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them and be his people. Now, those words, tabernacle and dwell, are actually connected. The word tabernacle is the word skini in Greek. It means tent. And this is God, in a sense, coming back to the way he was dwelling with his people in the wilderness. He wasn't in a permanent building. He wasn't in a bricks and mortar place. He was in a place that was mobile, movable. And it says, and I will, eskinosi, he says in Greek, I will camp with them, I will tent with them, make my tent with them. They will be my people. And he will wipe away all tears from their eyes. There'll be no more sorrow, sighing, death, or pain. All of those things are passed away because God is making everything new. And then he pronounces, God says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the telos, the purpose, the end. This is the thing towards which God has been working through his whole story of rescue and salvation, through the whole story of his people, through the promise to Abraham, through the unfolding through Moses and Israel, through the coming of Messiah, through the giving of the Holy Spirit, through the making of his people. This is what the whole thing has been pointing to. And then he has shown and also it says here that to the one who overcomes will be given to drink of the spring of life. Now this is obviously pointing again back to Jesus promising streams of life in John 7:37. But it's also connecting into what John has written at the beginning in the letters to the churches at the beginning of the Revelation, where he says to him who overcomes. So to the one who overcomes, he'll be given to drink of the waters of life. And so John is invited by one of the angels to come and view the new Jerusalem, which is the bride of Christ. This is the dwelling place. This is the place where God will set up home with his bride, who is now revealed as the one who Jesus has paid for, the people he's been given. And this city is absolutely beautiful. This city is magnificent. It's full of precious stones. Its gates are of pearls. It has foundations of precious stones. And by the way, the precious stones seem to connect to the stones that are in the breastplate that the high priest carried into the tabernacle back in the time of Exodus. And so there's a connection there between the old and the new. Heaven is founded on these kind of precious stones. And as this is all revealed, John is absolutely overwhelmed, and he describes in detail the different gates. He says that the city is 4 square. It's a cube. The city is a cube, and it's a huge city. It's something like 1,500 miles in all of its dimensions. So it's an amazing sign. It links again back into Ezekiel's vision of a new temple. But here's an interesting thing, that at the end, and this is the link again back to the tabernacle of God, the tent of God being with men, and he will camp with them. It says that as John looks, he says, this is in verse 27, he says, let me just see, verse 22, he says, I saw no temple in the city. There was no temple. Now that's an interesting thing, because we've said before, the temple wasn't something that God ordered. It wasn't something that God instituted. It was the tabernacle God had instituted. And there's no temple in this city because God himself is the temple. God the Almighty and the Lamb. They are the place that gives this place its sense of home and purpose. There's no building separate. And they are also the light of the city. And there's no night in the city because there is constant light, constant glory of God that is being seen. And it says its gates will never be shut by day, and that's where it says there's no night in the city. Its gates will never be shut, and there are nations coming into it. Heaven is an open place. Heaven is a welcoming place. But there is this discrimination that goes on. There is this discernment that nothing evil will ever come into this city. And those who are persisting in evil, those who are still persisting in standing against God, will be excluded from this dwelling place of God. What an amazing promise, what an amazing vision John has here of what is to come, of the age when God brings heaven to earth. It's not about us going to heaven, it's about heaven coming to earth and God camping with his people. God, this God who is not afraid to be a mobile God, will come, and he will himself, and the Lamb, Jesus, will be the light of this new Jerusalem that is coming. What a wonderful picture this is that we are presented with here. What a wonderful vision of what is to come in the future. Have a very good December 30th.